Hello, we are back again. I am Kelly LaValle Hunt. I have a few guys coming on stage. Soft-spoken Andy is AKA a rapper. Apparently. Just kidding. I'm not going to put him on the spot. And this is Haseeb. There you go.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you so much.
Really.
You are.
Thank you.
Can we get a round of applause?
Yeah,
Can we get a round of applause,
on.
please? Thank you so much.
She's waiting for that all
Crush
day.
that intro.
Yeah.
Well done. Highlight of the evening.
Here we go, Steve.
Great. How's it going, man?
A little jet lagged from Consensus, huh?
Okay. Yeah, a little bit. We both were in Hong Kong last week. I will say it was a little less sleepy than Denver. Denver, it seems like half you guys are asleep. How? I see somebody's literally got a blanket. Somebody literally has a blanket here. This is insane. I also don't know why they do this in like February in Denver. I feel like it's kind of an insane time to do a conference.
Yeah, it's cool, but it's nice. Good skiing this week. Tons of snow.
Is that right?
My voice is a little bit raspy.
Yeah. What were you doing last night?
Meow Wolf.
Meow Wolf at night?
Yes.
Okay. Wow. Is it really loud in Meow Wolf?
No, it's just a trippy spot.
A trippy spot, he says. Okay, got it.
Well, Haseeb, congrats on the big raise for Fund 4.
Fund 4, yes.
$650 million.
Thank you very much.
What do you do with all that money?
God, there's so many things we can do with it. Really, it's first thing you do is you just load it up into a bathtub. Just for the photo op. No, what do we do with the money? We invest in a crypto company. We're a VC. Those of you who don't know, we're a VC firm, and we raised $650 million, and we're going to use it to invest into new startups. So a lot of people in the space think that basically like crypto's cooked. They think the industry's dead. They think that nobody wants anything anymore. And I'm here to tell you guys that's bullshit. It's not true. I have never seen, I've been in this industry for almost 10 years now, I've never seen so much of a gap between the institutional sentiment and the retail sentiment. Like institutions they're fucking jazzed. They are so excited about what's going on. They love stablecoins and payments and blockchains and tokenization and DeFi. They think it's all super cool. And retail's like, it's all over and it's never coming back. So I remember when we posted on Twitter that like, hey, we raised this new fund. A bunch of people on Twitter were like, wait, who gave you money? And the answer is that institutions gave us money.
Yeah.
It's institutions like crypto. They still like it.
Same ones that you've been working with previously. I know you can't
some
speak on it
same
too
ones,
much.
some new ones. So we have a lot of really, I can't say their names because we have to be respectful of their confidentiality. But a lot of institutions you guys have heard of are bullish on crypto and they want to allocate more money in the space because they see that real stuff's happening, real adoption's happening.
So we've not really seen too many mega funds in crypto. I think Pantera had a $1 billion fund on A16Z as well. But, we've not seen like $5 billion, $10 billion raises. And I think when people saw your raise, they were wondering, okay, so how do you actually strategically allocate this much capital into the current environment, right?
Yeah.
We're in a low liquidity market. It's a bear market, at least, price time wise. How do you actually allocate capital in size in the current environment? How do you think about that? Is it early stage, Series A? Talk to us about kind of like the allocation strategy and how that pertains to the state of kind of early stage.
So look, we invest anywhere from like 3 million on the low side to like 30, 40 million on the high side. So that means that you're going from seed, Series A, Series B, and potentially even a few things as you're following on to those investments. So some of the companies that we've invested into recently, things like Polymarket, things like Rain, which is a crypto stablecoin card company. Things like we recently led around into Mesh. We're big investors in Athena. These are all really at-scale projects. They have significant revenue. They can absorb a lot of capital. And there's more and more companies that are coming to light that are really pushing the vanguard forward. So I don't know if people saw the recent announcement of this project called Conway. Kind of went super viral, got Vitalik talking about, oh, hey, this is bad for crypto. The intersection of crypto and AI is just starting to blossom. You can start to see that these models are just starting to get good enough that they can actually manage money and start to do things that are beyond just, okay, we have a meme coin and we have a chatbot and we threw a meme coin on it, right? Which is a lot of what crypto AI meant last year or the year before. Now we're starting to see more of a reality building there, and I think that's going to be very rife for potential investments. But then a lot of what we invest into is just the kind of brick and mortar stuff of investing into DeFi. It's at this point, it's kind of boring to talk about, but DeFi is still one of the big things in crypto that works, and there's still a lot of new stuff to get built there. Same thing with payments, stable coins, like all this stuff that's just like the kind of blocking and tackling of making the industry do the next 10x.
Yeah, so we've kind of coined this term neo-finance for this kind of payments, stable coins, RWAs, kind of encapsulating this. It's almost like the whole, DeFi in the back, CeFi in the front.
Mullet.
Yeah, right?
That's right.
But kind of extrapolating on that, we've been in a very chain-centric world, I think, and just getting a bit more deep into like some of the thesis. What do you think about the transition from like a chain-centric world to a more asset-centric world as we onboard more tokenized assets, as stablecoins grow? We're starting to kind of think that assets are going to go through the process that early stage chains did. You need a DEX, you need a lending aggregator, you need a vault, you need your NFT, whatever, right? Assets, let's say we're tokenizing a private credit or a CLO. They need a DEX to swap, securitize, and Uniswap. Apollo and Morpho, they want to lend their T-bills. Then they want to do a vault. Like, just talk to us about kind of the more asset-centric view.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to characterize it. I'd almost do it the other way around, which is that what you see increasingly from chains is that it used to be, you need the checklist of, you need Uniswap, you need Aave, you need this, you need that. Now increasingly it's like, oh, you need BUIDL. Yeah. And you need to pay up to get BUIDL to come launch on your chain, because if you have some new ghost chain, BUIDL doesn't show up for free, right? You have to go pay them to incentivize them to go and launch there. Same thing with USDC. You want to get native USDC, you got to go pay up to get the assets on your chain as opposed to just the protocols on your chain. I think that so like all this will continue, and I think what you also see is that there's a lot less churn in chains and infrastructure. Right? It basically was, I think we might be on the last or next to last cohort of new infra, in the sense that there's just not that much room to compete now in creating the next layer 1, the next layer 2, unless you are bringing your own distribution. If you're trying to take someone else's distribution, it might just be too late, in the same way that for social media, there was a critical period where almost all the social media companies got built. Basically by 2010, everything you think of as social media company was already built, right? So Facebook, LinkedIn, Snapchat, like all that stuff was already existent. It was small, maybe, much smaller than it is today, but it was already there. The only new one really was TikTok, right? That came up after 2010. So it may be the same thing for blockchains themselves, is that basically every important blockchain is now there. And that doesn't necessarily mean that there's not going to be more shifting. It may well be that Ethereum gains market share, loses market share, Solana gains, loses, somebody else starts to gain and lose. But the ability to start today and to be able to gain market share, you have to be really extraordinary in the way that TikTok was able to really push the vanguard forward. I think the same thing is likely going to be true for infrastructure. Now, the last thing I'll say is that it may well be that the next big shift that we see comes from the advent of AI as an intermediary between the user and the application, right? So let's take, for example, the Clarity Act. Clarity Act, right now, it looks like on Polymarket, it's like 78% as of this morning for the Clarity Act to pass this year. If Clarity Act passes, there are going to be potential guardrails and or requirements for front ends to do KYC, to do some transaction monitoring, stuff like this. Now, one way, like the paradigm here is that that's going to work because you have to go to uniswap.com to go and trade on Uniswap, right? And if you go there, then you got to do this KYC and blah, blah, blah. But you can imagine a world where people tell each other like, hey, if you want to go swap on Uniswap, don't go to uniswap.com, just go type it into Claude that you want to trade on Uniswap. And Claude will just like one-shot a Uniswap interface for you. And when you do that, when that's your interface, when the AI is your interface and not the website, then you don't have to KYC if you're just like creating your own vibe-coded front end, right? Or even less, if let's say you don't even have a front end, and you just tell Claude, yo, go buy me this thing on Uniswap, and it just does it for you all within text. In that case, okay, one, now the interfaces don't matter, right? The interfaces are now completely cut out of the story of how people interact with smart contracts, okay? Second thing that does is it changes the way that you do marketing. It changes the way that you do competition. You're now no longer telling your model, use Uniswap, right? You're just telling the model your intent. Your intent is trade this token for that. You don't give a shit how it gets done. So your model very well may just say, look, I'm going to go try 1inch. I'm going to go try Uniswap. I'm going to go try CowSwap. I'm going to go try something else, see what gets me the best price, and that's how I'll execute. And on a certain level, it doesn't even need to ask you. Like, why would you know? You're an idiot, you know? I'm an AI. I can go check everything instantaneously. So the extent of like brand loyalty, lock-in, like all this stuff changes in a post-AI world. So I think, I mean, this is true on the consumer side to some degree, and that's part of the reason why you're seeing the SaaS apocalypse in the NASDAQ. But in the crypto world, because crypto has no lock-in, crypto has no user accounts, crypto has no, like there's nothing keeping you in a walled garden in crypto, right? And we always talked about how that changes the competitive dynamics in crypto, but then we never really saw it, right? It kind of didn't really happen. Uniswap is insanely sticky. And we don't really have a good explanation for why, other than that people just, they know Uniswap, and so they go there. But in a world where AI agents are sitting in front of you, the way in which protocols are going to compete changes. And that's interesting. I don't know exactly where that goes. I don't know how that happens. But that, I think, is really going to change the dynamics of how protocols work and interact with each other in the next, call it 3 to 4 years.
A couple of side quests here. Have you used OpenClaw yet?
I have used OpenClaw. Yeah.
What do you use it for?
Not mumuch. I mean, it's obviously not super secure, and so it's not never something you want to be.
A ton and yeah.
Well, it's like I'm not like I don't have like a self-driving Gmail that I'm hooking up my OpenClaw. I think that's insane.
Yeah.
But right now I just it's like a little Telegram bot. It has some read access to some stuff that's pretty low security for me, and I just kind of play around with it, see what it can do. The reality is that it's something that I think people are going to. I think here's what's going to happen, is that there's going to be kind of a 2-track world for agents. The first track is going to be the big labs, right? So obviously OpenAI hired the OpenClaw founder and is backing the OpenClaw Foundation. And, Sam Altman said that OpenClaw represents a very important path of development for OpenAI itself, right? Like they see agents and agents autonomously doing things on your behalf is going to become more and more important. That being said, OpenAI is never going to run a YOLO, run your Gmail, use a credit card without asking you agent ever. They're not going to do that because it's insane the amount of liability they would get. They just imagine the stories of somebody wakes up and like they're fired because their OpenClaw did some crazy fucked up shit to like emailed their boss like something insane or like spent all their money. They wake up and there's thousands of dollars in like Amazon bills like that. Like that's not going to happen. OpenAI is never going to do that. So there's going to be this second track, which is the crazy hobbyist.
Like the Wild Wild West type of thing.
Exactly.
DeFi summer,
that's the DeFi side. That's the DeFi side, right? Coinbase doesn't allow you to trade everything.
Right, exactly.
But you go on Uniswap and you go buy like Fartcoin
Whatever you want.
all these crazy rug pull stuff. And like you just, buyer beware, brain damage is on you. And that is where all the real crazy innovation is going to happen of people who have like these quote unquote self-driving companies, right? Where the company just runs itself, emails itself, does, that is where you're going to see incredible amounts of innovation, and the vast majority of people are going to have no idea that it's going on. Like they're not going to touch it. They're not going to be aware of it.
So you put out a pretty good piece as of yesterday. I think it was crypto was not meant for humans.
Yes,
it's meant for agents. And
yeah.
We've kind of orbited around the core of it here. Maybe just give us the core idea.
Yeah.
Why was this technology built for this next era? Are we not going to be using it in the same way? How's it going to change?
Well, so, okay, I've already sketched out a little bit of what that looks like when your agent is doing things on your behalf and it's the one interacting with the blockchain, not you. Yeah. There were a lot of stories that people used to tell about crypto. Like one of the stories they used to tell was that people are going to use smart contracts instead of legal contracts. Right? When I first came in the industry, 2017, people talked about that all the time, right? And here we are 10 years later and no one's doing that. No one's doing that. Like, I'm a VC fund. I'm a crypto VC fund. I back crypto startups. We both know how to read smart contracts. We're using legal contracts, right? Why? The answer is that it's easier for us to understand the failure modes and the happy case for a legal contract than it is for a smart contract, even for us. That said, for an AI agent, it's the other way around. Okay? For an AI agent, they can really trivially understand code. They understand code way better than they understand contracts, right? You read a legal contract, if you're an AI agent, you're like, well, I know what this says, but like, where is this going to get adjudicated? What country? What jurisdiction? What circuit? Who's the judge going to be? Who's the jury going to be? It's totally random. You cannot predict these things. It's by design that you can't predict these things. Whereas in code, you know exactly how the code is going to get adjudicated every single time. And so if you're an AI agent, and I'm talking to another AI agent, if I'm entering into a legal agreement with them, then, okay, how am I going to drag you to court? How do I know where you are? How do I know like how any of that's going to happen? I have no clue. But if we have a smart contract, I know exactly how to enforce that against you, right? Because it is self-enforcing. So, and you add to that all the foot guns that exist within crypto, right? Of like, long, unreadable cryptographic addresses, approvals, like all the subtle way, you have to read the exactly address poisoning attacks, or, the URL was one little character wrong. Like humans suck at all of that. Right? And like, I've never been afraid of accidentally transferring money in my bank to North Korea. But I am afraid of doing that with my crypto wallet, right? And like, I've never stopped being afraid of that. And that means that, look, the reason why is because banks were designed for humans. Crypto was not designed for humans. Crypto was designed for autistic software engineers who existed in 2013 when they dreamed up all this stuff, and they were like, oh yeah, obviously, everyone's gonna read the code and understand what the smart contract says, right? And like, no, that's not what we're doing. We're not doing that. But AI agents are more like autistic software engineers than they're like the rest of us. And so that's why, in a sense, this is exactly what the cypherpunks thought they were building for. They ended up building the exact right product for a user that didn't exist yet, but that user is an AI agent. So in that world where the AI agent is that canonical user, I think many things about crypto that are bugs today become features. Many things that make crypto hard actually make crypto easy. It's a lot easier for an AI agent. Let's say we talk about this, it's two paths that AI agents are going to use. One is going to be, okay, OpenAI wants to be your personal butler. And it's going to say, hey, you're running low on toilet paper because, we have some, whatever, smart house wired up thing that can tell your toilet paper is low. I'm going to buy some toilet paper for you. Click this button to authorize it with your Visa card. You have to click the button. They are not going to do it for you. Because if they do it for you, you'll wake up and you're just like, hey, why did you buy like thousands of rolls of toilet paper or whatever? You're going to run a chargeback. Visa's going to be like, yo, you authorized this or you didn't authorize this. If you didn't authorize this, Visa's going to be like, we're not going to let you just YOLO things while you're asleep and then claim that it wasn't you. But in crypto land, crypto is designed for no takebacks. Right? There's no chargebacks in crypto. So if you're asleep and your AI agent is just doing stuff, crypto is the perfect substrate for that. It just automatically works in this world where buyer beware. If you run into a wall or smack something in your face, you eat it. It's on you. And that is the exact right way for futurists and people who are taking a lot of risk. It's the exact right apparatus for them. And that's why I claim that AI agents are going to be one of these places where you see crypto get used more and more and more.
Guys, does anybody have a question?
Yeah.
But every other crypto they will touch, there is always human in the loop, validators, no transparency. In case they will have some survivability, able to buy their hardware wherever they can invent their own Bitcoin.
Yeah. Okay, so great question. So the question is, why won't AI agents invent their own money? And I think the answer is very obvious. AI agents are smart, and they care about the same things that we care about, which is that they want to accomplish their goals. And the proximate way to accomplish your goal is to use the currency that the most people accept, that's the most liquid, that's the most transferable. And so I think somebody asked me like, will AI agents use stablecoins? Because stablecoins are centrally controlled, Circle can turn them off, like blah, blah, blah. And the answer is like, look, AI agents are not stupid. They're not stupid. They're very practical, right? Like go talk to an AI agent and go see how it's very practical. And it will just tell you like, I'll use whatever's most useful. So AI agents will use credit cards if you let them. If you give your OpenClaw a credit card, it'll just use a credit card. I think Visa will eventually not allow you to do that for obvious reasons, but right now you can just do it. So I think the answer is that AI agents will use whatever everyone else uses. They want to use the thing that's most accepted and most transferable and most liquid. Most likely that's going to be the same crypto assets that you and I use.
Ladies and gentlemen, I run a podcast called The Rollup. We are on YouTube, X, Twitter. You got to follow us. Follow Haseeb on X, Dragonfly. Thank you guys for watching, for being here. And let's give a round of applause for Haseeb.
Yeah. And let's wish this guy a good sleep.
Wake up, buddy.
Yeah. Sleep well, man.